Phil, Diogo Jota.
Wow.
Not a bad signing.
No.
Now, hang on. Let's not all get carried away here just yet, right? He is joining one of the great teams, and they are running teams ragged at the moment. Is he helping them to do that, or is he the beneficiary of a team that's brilliant? I'm just trying to, like, you know, not get too carried away here.
I think it's a bit of both. Obviously, there's no doubt that Firmino's form has dipped. You know, as the last few seasons have gone on, his lack of goal, like his goal scoring tally has dipped. Even when he came on last night, he had a really good chance to play Mane in, and he decided to shoot and it got blocked. And I wonder, was that down to the fact that he had just watched Jota score a hat-trick and thought, you know, I need to start scoring more goals here. But the argument for the front three of Liverpool over the last few years has always been, how do you get players to Liverpool that will be willing to maybe have to sit on the bench because they'll know that they can't break into the front three? Now, Jota, when they signed them, obviously Liverpool fans were on a high because the Thiago deal had been done that day, and that was the main one. And then all of a sudden, 2 hours later, it's like, oh, this deal for Jota's coming in and about 40 million. But you looked at him and you thought, he's 23, he plays in a really good Wolves team. Now, they obviously play a different system, they don't have as much of the ball. So now we're seeing what he's like playing in a team that has more possession and create more chances because he gets more of the ball. And he looked on it from the very first minute. He nearly scored a sensational goal in the first couple of minutes, but his hat-trick was so impressive. The first goal, obviously, you know, he dinks it with his left foot. He's shown that he's a very two-footed player. At times he dribbles with his left foot. The second goal is just, when it was dropping over to Gomez, played the ball over, I actually thought when it was coming to him, I thought Jota's going to hit this first time, but took the touch with his left foot and then smashed it in with his right foot. And even the third goal just takes it around the keeper and knocks it in. So just, this is exactly what Liverpool needed. You know, a bit of a freshening up. Obviously Thiago was brought in to give them something different in midfield, and Jota's now given them something different in attack, because even if Mane was injured, Jota could play on the left. Obviously he showed last night he can play through the centre, and then he obviously could play out on the right if Salah was left out of the team. Different player to Firmino in the fact that he obviously is more dangerous running in behind defences. He can drop deep as well. Obviously he's probably not as creative as Firmino in that position, but yeah, certainly Liverpool fans are excited by him. And as I said, he's only 23, so if this is what he's like now, surely he's only going to get better.
Owen's been asking the question, can they all four play together?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you can play the 4-2-3-1, which then allows you to play Jota on the left, and you can put, tends to go with Salah on through the centre. But do you know, maybe last night showed that you could play Jota through the centre and you play Salah, keep him out on the right, because if you're playing Salah through the centre, what he's tended to do then maybe is put Mane out to the right, but Mane I think is always best on the left. So yeah, this is a chance for them to play. But also what we've always talked about as well is the drop off in standards when one of the front three is missing, whereas in the last few seasons Origi's had to come in, or Shaqiri obviously has had to play. So now you've got no drop off there. I mean, some people would argue last night that that front three was better than the front three with Firmino in it. So that, and Klopp said it after, it's not a selection headache, it's a great problem to have, especially going into such a big game on Sunday.
When you talk about all those different formations you can play with the four involved, with the three involved, when I'm talking about the attacking players, obviously, it does feel that in both of those scenarios, Roberto Firmino is on the outside looking in, or at least his influence is being hampered, whether it is a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3. Yeah,
but I think Firmino hasn't looked as sharp in the first few weeks of the season, but he's played a lot of football. Like, he was there before Mane and Salah arrived. You know, with Firmino, he works his socks off. So maybe a little bit of a rest, maybe just taking a bit of the pressure off him, knowing that, because a lot was made of him last season not scoring a league goal at Anfield until the very end of the season. So maybe this takes a bit of the focus off him and he can come back in and he'll be a bit more relaxed. Now, I mean, on the other side of the coin, you could say now he's looking at his position in the team and thinking, there is no role for me unless I get my act together. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of reaction it gets. But I think one thing from Jurgen Klopp's point of view is it takes the pressure off, knowing that if Firmino doesn't have a good game or he takes him out of the team, that Jota will slot in perfectly. I mean, that performance last night was you're not going to see many better performances from an individual player in the Liverpool team this season.
Imagine if they'd signed Ismaila Sarr instead of Diogo Jota. I don't quite think we'd be sitting here having the same conversation around Liverpool's shiny new thing up front.
No, and Sarr was one of those players that, you know, could have played anywhere across the front three, but Jota, you know, Michael Edwards obviously has done his homework on Jota, and as I said, Wolves are a different team. They play a different formation, and he wasn't actually getting into the team at the end of last season. But the beauty of playing for Liverpool is if you miss a chance, you're going to get another one soon enough. Yeah. Whereas with Wolves, they play counter-attacking football, and my God, it's effective. But sometimes you miss that chance, and you might get another one for 10 minutes. Whereas Jota was just lively for the whole game and had a few other chances as well. So yeah, it bodes well, and I said it gives opposition teams something different to think about, especially if you'd imagine, like, it's very hard to leave him out on Sunday. Now he came off with a bit of a knock, but I'd say he'd run through a wall to get into that team on Sunday to play Manchester City.
So what are we saying then? Daniel Podence and Pedro Neto would score 4 or 5 goals for that Liverpool team?
Well, Podence is only just starting to find his feet in terms of goal scoring for Wolves, but no, I think, as I said, Liverpool have got a player now that they can keep in their squad for, as I said, 23. You look at the other front three, you know, late 20s. So
maybe you cash in for 200 million on Salah to Real Madrid next summer?
Well, Salah was excellent last night as well. That goal he scored kind of reminded me a little bit of the one that he scored against Arsenal a few seasons ago at Anfield, where it came from a corner. Now, that game against Arsenal, he didn't have to check back in because he just ran straight through and put it in the net. But you know, he ran the field, and I think one thing watching the game last night as well, I've tended to watch games with crowd noise on, but the game was on RTE, so they didn't have crowd noise, and it was very evident. Just obviously, if anyone wonders what Jordan Henderson brings to Liverpool, if they haven't discovered it by now, but he basically runs the show in terms of, you know, he is the voice of that team. He keeps things going in terms of the pace, but also Salah missed a few chances. You can hear like just how much it annoys him when he misses chances. And I thought even, like, we haven't even talked about Reece Williams, and that's probably just...
Well, I did want to ask about two other things. About Reece Williams, and also Curtis Jones is now starting big away games in the Champions League. When did that happen?
Yeah, like he obviously came in, he played the Ajax game, but it didn't go too well for him. But I think the explanation after that game was that he was a late inclusion. But he started off a little bit tentative last night, a few loose touches, but then grew into the game and he was excellent. And again, you have to remember, this lad is still a teenager, and Reece Williams obviously still a teenager. Trent Alexander-Arnold, who set up the first goal for Jota, is you know, still in his early 20s. So you know, you've got such a blend of youth and experience in that Liverpool team. But Curtis Jones, the general feeling before the start of the season was, with Lallana gone, Curtis Jones would kind of fill that role in, where, you know, he would start games. He wouldn't start the big games. But I think the beauty of this for Liverpool now is they have gone to the last group game the last couple of seasons. You think the last season they had to go to Salzburg and get a draw. The season before they had to beat Napoli in the final day, and they did. But you think back to the save that Alisson had to make from Milik late in that game. So Liverpool are now one win away from wrapping up qualification. So they play Atalanta at Anfield after the international break, win that, and they're through, and they can rest players for the last couple of group games. And that's a position they haven't been in the last couple of seasons, and that's where the likes of Curtis Jones might get some more game time. In terms of Reece Williams, top position, he did very well, looks very calm, and the fact that we're not talking about how he played really says it all. Now, Liverpool were that good that, okay, they could have actually conceded a goal or two. Zapata hit the woodwork, thought it was in, had a few chances, but again, it showed last night the difference Alisson makes. That I know since Liverpool lost that game 7-2 to Aston Villa, the response has been excellent. They should have beaten Everton in the Merseyside derby. Obviously, you know, they've come from behind to beat Sheffield United and West Ham in Premier League games. They've won 2 Champions League games. So, yeah, I think, and they've won 3 Champions League games. Sorry, since that Everton or that Villa game. So, yeah, it's looking a lot better than it did a few weeks ago, but obviously the big test is going to come on Sunday.
All right. Phil, good stuff. Thanks very much for that. It is 7:57 here this morning. Pardon me, on OTB AM. 0879 180 180 is the number if you want to get in touch with us. We'll be back with the sports pages after this.